This is,
Sewer Commission meeting, Tuesday, September 30th, 2014, call to order, 8:30 a.m. I'd like to welcome Mr. Noonan, Tom Piles with the advisory. On board is Commissioner Gondavere, Commissioner Higgins, Steve Peterson, Weston Sampson, Randy Sylvester, DPW, and Steve, DPW. I'd make a motion to accept the minutes, September 9th, 2014 Sewer Committee meeting.
Second that one, Eddie.
Did you look at that? You all set?
Minutes.
The 9th?
minutes of the meeting? Yes.
Okay.
You seconded it? Okay. I agree.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is Ship Street and Cottage Street Sewer Extension update. Steve?
Yeah, Commissioner, an update on that. The project is substantially complete. A letter to such effect was issued on September 16th to the contractor with an effective date of August 26th. So August 26th is when they completed all the pipeline testing on the project. So the system has been accepted as substantially complete. Actually, this morning, as we submitted the record drawings for the project, Steve Dempsey has 2 copies of the as-built record drawings. We'll also email him some PDFs of those drawings. At this point, I've been working with Steve and Liz on letters to go to the homeowners that they can now tie in. The system is approved for use.
Steve, I just gave them a copy, a draft,
Excellent.
so they can look them over and if they're good with it, we'll send it out.
Yeah, however you guys want to handle that,
Yeah.
something that they can look at, basically just a letter
I
telling
can get a
people
copy of the
that,
letter.
You get another
they can
copy?
tie in.
Yes, I just,
I gave you. He hasn't got one.
No, I gave you 2.
Oh, you gave me 2?
There should be 2 in here.
Okay,
Thank
The
you.
same ones? Yeah.
give me that back.
There you go. I don't know if you have enough tonight.
Do you want to take a second to read that, or, I think we're good with that. I don't know that it needs a vote, you tell me, is that something?
no, I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that
okay, thanks.
if they had any comments, that we could address them, that's
So that's
all.
something, yeah, you guys can take a look at that, and it'll probably be going out in the next few days, is the intent.
You're doing like a license. We don't
In
have one.
terms of the contract itself, we have put together the final balancing change order for the contract, basically to, take all the quantities and bring the final contract amount to equal what the actual cost of the contract is. So there was some minor changes on the job. There's some back charges to the cost, some things that the town did after emailing back and forth with the contractor. The town provided the power sweeping of the road at the end. That was back charged against the contract. There's things like that. But basically what the balancing change order does is it just does what it says. It kind of balances the job out. So I have 6 copies of that here. We'd like to get that executed. The original contract amount for this project was $378,186. In the end,
How much was it now?
the original
Yeah.
as-bid amount was $378,186.
378,
378 and 186.
186.
And in the end, the final amount being paid to the contractor is $363,276. So it's about $15,000 below what the bid prices were based on all the final actual quantities in the field. Now, they didn't encounter everything. Some things went over a little bit, some things went under. In the end, that's the difference. So that's what the balancing change order does. It brings his final contract amount down to the 363. Okay. So we execute the final balancing change order, and then the contract will issue its final pay requisition, and we'll be done. With him, he still has his performance bond that stays in place for 2 years for anything that, because at this point, there is no punch list. You know, he's completed a punch list. We created one, he completed it. So there are no outstanding issues right now. As stated, at this point, what you have is you have the performance bond. If anything does come up, that he needs to be called back out to take care of under his warranty. So that's where we are with that. I can give you a quick update on where we're at with the betterments, you know, cost of the project and whatnot. At this point, we've got a real good grasp on the costs. There are still some smaller bills that are coming in that we're still waiting to make sure we've got everything on the ledger, but at this point, it looks like the total cost to the project is just under $580,000. There was an appropriation of $600,000. So when we total everything up, the contractor's costs, engineering, any legal fees, all of that stuff. And like I said, we do need to make sure we wait for any final bills to matriculate here and make sure they're in, but based on our accounting, that's where we're at. When we look at the homes and buildings in the project area, there are 31 assessment units. Basically, you know, every single-family home is one unit. There's a two-family home out there. There's another property that is subdividing, so they've been assessed 2 units. So the 31 assessment units applied against the 580,000 approximately is a cost per assessment of about 18,700 right now. And those are not the final number, but we're comfortable enough at this point to tell you that's about where it's going to be. And as soon as the numbers are final, we'll start that process through council and through the assessors, you know, getting the process going. The letters will go out, the betterment bills. People will have the opportunity to pay them off in the first 30 days or a portion of over 20 years. So those should be going out maybe within a month, once everyone's comfortable that the bills are final. So that's kind of a summary on Shift and Cottage and where we're at. Are there any questions on that?
Any questions?
Just, Randy, you're all set, right? On this whole business over there, you're all set? Stevie, you guys are good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you're all set.
Okay. The next article is Ware River Sewer District tie-in policy discussion. I think we do have criteria for considering additional property connections into the Ware River Sewer District, not directly sewered by WRSD Town Project Phase 1 and 2.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Yeah. You have a copy of that?
No.
Have you seen that, Bob?
I haven't seen it. Okay, I'm looking at item number 4 here, Ed.
Yeah.
It says, priority for the connections will be given to properties that failed on-site systems that cannot meet Title V regulations outside, on-site disposal. It says here that unbuilt, there's a granted 3 bedrooms per connection. Just reading through this, it looks like if someone has a lot or that they want to build on, that if they are unable to meet the Title V regulations, it looks like we might have to take a look at that. But I want to look at, I want to look at that some more and read through it. I'm not ready to
Okay.
go along with that just yet, although there are circumstances there that we have to take a look at, all right? I'm not clear on that, so I'd like to look at it some more, get a copy of it.
We get a copy of it. We get a copy of it. We want to see it on the table.
Yeah, if we could just table this, I think we have discussed with Mr. Noonan on his property, and that we would get back to him in October, at the October meeting. Is that not correct? Didn't we not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go, I want to go through that before we can say anything about it, okay?
So this is,
Because these are really intertwined. Number 4 and 5 are intertwined here, and one depends on the other, quite frankly. So let's hold up on that until, I'm just not ready to vote on that or give it to Yahoo one way or the other,
this is the current procedure or policy that is in place?
Well, is this in our current?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's currently in our rules and regulations, I'd like to look through it first. I'd like to look through, if that's just one page, but there may be other pages, I'd like to read the entire article and see what it really says. It does provide for relief if someone has a home who has a septic tank failure, okay, and cannot meet the Title V requirements. I think that's what that exception is all about. I don't think it's about just granting new connections, just point blank. I think there have to be circumstances we have to meet certain requirements. That's my sense of what that says, just right through there. But I want to read the whole thing, and I want to read the back of that and the front of the pages. There are probably other pages related to that, and I would like to look through that before we say anything, okay? I'd like to table it, both of those issues, actually, Mr. Noonan. We want to go through all of this to make sure that we are correct in what we're planning to do or what we have to do. That's all I can say about it right now. But we do have an October permitting procedure that we will go through.
What's the date on October? October what?
Did
I think
you
we've already
fill out
scheduled that, yeah.
all your
They have an
paperwork?
Oh, yeah.
He has an application.
Yeah,
There's an application in?
Right.
Yeah.
What was described at the last meeting is that we were going to discuss a policy today
yeah.
and give the 30 days for public comment, and then a policy would go into effect.
Fact.
I guess the commission needs some more time to go through that, the policies that are current, and I do suggest to have the policy, the new policy go to town council to make sure it's valid, and then make decisions on new connections from there. That's my suggestion.
Okay, but I'm not sure if we're actually doing this legally or not, because he's already got his application filled out.
Well,
We
yes,
have
an
a po-
application in, but there's...
We have a policy in place, and now we're going to change the policy to turn, based on,
Say one thing?
sure.
Since I've been going through this process in the Ware River, I know of at least 2 properties with new homes or sewer hookups under the policy that exists today. And there's one where Lovato's house, where Peter Lovato grew up, they did it for me, they're putting up a house now, there's a sewer connection there. Under the policy that I'm trying to just get a sewer hookup that's existing today, I don't understand that for 2 years, why I have to wait for a new policy. You could actually make a policy, you have to refuse me.
Well,
Yeah.
that's, I don't think that's what we're intending to say to
It
you.
is.
Okay, what's the-
No, you're new, okay, but
Yep.
I've been through 5 sewer commissioners, and every time there seems to be a struggle, and I've done everything that the sewer commissioners asked me to do from day one, including Kirkwood, including going to the town hall, including coming back here monthly. I would just like, because the application is in, under the policies that exist today, to ask you at least to take a vote.
Is that, Lombard, is that on Kilby Street?
Yes.
Street is with the two houses at one.
Was there already a connection approved there for that property? Was there a house on there before?
No.
No, there's already a house there, there's a new one there.
New one there?
The Form A.
All right, so I can,
And I'm just basically asking for the same thing. Plus you have Brad's property down the street, which is all wet, but there's a stub there. I'm not trying to tell the sewer commission what to do, but I'm just asking for a vote. Because the policy that you've given all the other people, these sewer hookups are in place today.
I think he's got a valid point of, he's been going through this for 2 years. We have, under this policy, and, I mean, I think that we should take a vote on it and decide, under this policy.
Well,
We can't make a new policy based on what
I
he's,
understand, but if we open this up, okay, those reserved units that we have, bedrooms and capacity, if we open this up and we go along with this, there will be others with land who have no connections that will want a connection also. Those, I think the capacity is reserved for those people who want to add 1 or 2 bedrooms to their existing homes, okay? I know it seems like a lot, but a lot of places, they want to put 1 or 2 bedrooms on, or if they tear down an existing house that's very small and they want to put a 4-bedroom home in, as long as they have that connection, we have to make sure that we reserve for those situations. We can't. Hold on, Mike.
But wait, those
Well, let me
people
finish,
are not
okay?
going through an application.
Let me finish.
I am here.
Yeah, Mike, you didn't, over the 2 years, there was no application until
That was never
recently.
told. You were the first one to tell me about it.
Well,
And
you
then
know, I can't address what happened before. I'm trying to address what's happened now, and I think we have a pretty good handle on it. But we would just want to make sure, like, that going forward, okay, that we don't make the mistakes that we made in the past over these issues. Unfortunately, you're caught in the middle. But I'm not ready to vote on this because I am not going to vote on this, quite frankly, until I read through all of this. We agreed with you in October. In October, we would give you an answer. I'm not prepared to give you an answer
I
today.
understand what you're not prepared to do, but you're new, and I've been here for a while, and I have an application in, the same as other people have applications in, under the policies which exist today.
Eric.
You can change the policy and make me know.
We're not,
my personal opinion is I'm actually commute on Kilby Street quite a bit, and I know the house that he's talking about. It's a brand-new house. There wasn't a sewer stub or a tie-in or whatever. I think we're going to, if we do this, I think we could open up a can of legal worms, because he has submitted an application that we've already, under this procedure that we're already following. Now we're saying, well, hold on to that application until we rectify this or change this. I don't think that's right. I think we should vote on this today.
let me restate myself here, okay? Maybe I wasn't clear. I want to look at that entire article. I want to see what pages precede that and what's so forth, and I want to be able to read through the whole thing. That's all I'm asking for, is the ability to read all of that, to make sure that we do the right thing
Okay.
based on the
So
regulations that we have.
let's do it this way. If his application follows this curriculum or this guidelines, then he gets we grant his sewer. So we can take a vote on that today, saying, if his applications follow this guidelines, then he's granted. Not the new ones, not the ones we're going to instate, the ones that are already in place.
Well, how did we grant a connection to the Lombardo property? How did we
I
go about
wasn't
it?
here for that.
Okay, Ed, any idea how that,
There's also been one granted for 100 Rear Kilby Street with Joe Calvi. That was granted just on an application process. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do.
No, Mike, it's
I believe they
okay.
have stubs, and
It's okay.
the betterments have been paid on those properties.
Okay.
I'm not totally positive, I'm pretty sure with 101.
I'm positive.
Rear, okay, it's positive that they've already paid betterments on the property.
Okay.
So that's why they're able to connect.
okay,
So I don't have a copy of that, you don't have another copy of that policy, do you?
No, I can give it to you if you want to try and skim through it. Like I
Let
said,
me say, though, it's very frustrating to have to keep coming, and it's been voted on once unanimously, but another policy has to go in place before it gets accepted. Today, you don't want to vote on it because you want to make up another policy.
No, I don't want,
It's just the way I'm looking at it, it's been such a struggle. I think I would just like you to vote on it, yes or no, and I can go away. But it's just been too much of a struggle.
first of all, Mike, I don't want you to go away. You're a citizen of Hingham.
I
Their
love
property,
it.
you own the property there, okay?
And we've given property to the town.
Yeah, I understand all. I'm just, my concern is this current agreement, not the future agreement's gonna happen.
Okay.
And I-
That's what's confused me, is
Not,
I think the current agreement
Could be for the good of the community,
right.
you know?
I guess I'll make a motion that we vote on it.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we vote on, what is it?
they should.
0 Rockland Street hookup, grant of sewer hookup.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Second the motion.
I would make a contingent that legal looks at this and make sure it's correct, because I don't know if that's happened. And I think there's some inconsistencies here. I think that's what I heard at the last meeting, and that's why we were to discuss it today and vote on his application on the 30th of October. But if you do vote on this, I would say make a contingent on legal's opinion.
Again, I think that that's the wrong way, because, like I said, we're going to have somebody look at that and say, this policy's been in place for however many years, X amount of years, and say, hold on a minute, we noticed a discrepancy, but all the other people that got in before that, they're okay because we didn't pick that discrepancy up. He's got his application already in under that policy or procedure. I just feel that it's wrong if we all of a sudden change it, and then when we change it, we go, hey, look at this, we didn't notice this before, now we're correcting it, and now that puts him out because...
I'm not disputing that.
Okay.
I'm not trying to,
Right.
What I'm trying to say is, if this is illegal in any way, and what's happened in the past is the past, but if you have a legal opinion saying that this is okay, if your vote is contingent on legal opinion, and they say it's okay, then, yeah, sure, Mr. Newman can have his property. But if not, then you're going to have to look at this to make sure you are legal, because you don't want to break the law.
So
by
if this
voting
is,
on it.
if this is illegal, do we go back to everybody that we let hook up underneath that and say, hey, we did it
No.
illegally, you got to take it out?
No, you have to move forward. You can't, in my opinion, my suggestion is if you go forward and know that there's a question here, then there might be some liability to the commission. So if you get an opinion either way and it's positive, then the vote can go through and he can get his connection. But I just think it would be prudent from the commission to make sure that it's being done right. That's all my suggestion is.
Somebody's raising their hand.
Yeah, Todd Patch, Chip Street. I share Mr. Noonan's frustration, but the reality of the situation is you've got essentially 2 new commission members, okay? And I think what Randy's trying to tell you is, and I understand your point about how can it be that certain people, if it turns out that a mistake was made, okay? But you can't perpetuate the mistake if it exposes the commission to liability of the town. However, it would seem like Randy's suggestion is a happy medium between the two, because you're taking a vote, but the vote is subject to a contingency. And if that contingency is not met, then the vote has no operative effect. Do you follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you can, but I think, because I don't think Mr. Noonan, as much as, I can empathize with him, I don't think he wants to be put in a position where now this issue has come to light and be in a position where there's some level of illegality, which then exposes, his desire to move forward on this project from being shut down because there's a termination, there's some kind of illegality. You want a clear, I'm not speaking for you, but you want blue sky. You want to know one way or the other.
But here's my situation.
What I'm just saying is,
It's been-
if you just let me finish 1 second, I'm just suggesting that if you do follow Randy's suggestion, which is a vote, but with a hard deadline for town council to respond. You know what I'm saying? By a date certain, and if they don't respond by a date certain, then the vote goes into effect. Do you know what I'm saying? So basically, it's, you know, a vote with an opinion from town council. If town council
When's the next
says this
meeting?
is legal, and or town council fails to respond by a
When's the
certain
next
date,
meeting?
okay,
October.
then the vote
October,
goes into
yeah.
effect. So what you're doing is you're voting now to have your vote go into effect at a date subsequent, whatever date that is. But that at least gives him the knowledge that as of that date, he should know one way or the other. Which I think is what he's saying. He wants to, I want a yes or no. I know he wants it today, but I think Randy's trying to make the point, clearly you don't want to do something that's illegal. So I think if you give him a short date, you know, town council should be able to turn this thing around in a couple of weeks. And I think, and although he's been here quite a bit, because I've seen him at these meetings,
September
and I
9th.
understand your frustration, Mr. Newman. I don't know if 2 weeks is gonna
My
kill it
What's
one
our
way
next
or the other.
meeting?
But my question, and I'm going to right out in front of you.
30th, whatever?
Huh?
You can't make it more after the fact. There's a law's in effect.
October
right now.
30th.
The policy's in effect
You
right
gonna
now.
be here?
It has been, other people in town
You have one
under this
before the-
policy, and now it's supposed to change because of me.
My biggest hang up on this
It
is,
looks like it
I
wants to
think
be
that he
changed
was
because of me.
misled by this thing.
I agree. There's no question about
If he
that.
was given the right information 2 years ago, we wouldn't be doing this. He would have already had his house built.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And we wouldn't be having this conversation if he was given the correct information 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He'd
Pull the
have
permit.
already, he would have used that policy that's in place. He would have pulled the permit. They would have done their things. It would come in front of the commission whoever was on the commission at that time, and he'd have been done. But he wasn't given the correct information by this commission and,
Former chairman.
the former chairman. And
And even though the body's changed, it's still the sewer commission. I happen to be on the conservation commission in Abington. If the body's changed, the commission is still there. They still running on the same policies. It's not my fault that things have happened, that I've been in front of 2 new commissioners. The policy has still been in effect for 2 years. I just wasn't knowledgeable about an application process. This could have been done 2 years ago.
Exactly.
that's what
the
I'm saying
point.
here, is that you
That
were
should have been done
given
2 years ago, but I don't want to go behind that,
Misinformation.
quite frankly, because I don't have the information that I need. I only have the information that's in front of us here, Mike. And
Oh, we made a motion
Yeah, you made a motion.
that we vote on it.
Right. I second the motion.
Second the motion, so do we take a vote?
We take a vote.
Well, like I said, I mean, I know this is,
You want to say contingent or anything? Or?
I say that he gets it. My personal opinion is he gets it. I feel his frustration. I feel that even though I wasn't part of this commission at the time or whatever, that he was given misinformation, and that ultimately is the responsibility of this commission.
Get a
And
copy of that back again.
can he have that copy
Yeah,
back?
Contingent on that criteria.
That's my thing. You guys can put a contingency in there, or yay or nay it or whatever, but like I said, I think that it ultimately was, the blame was on the commission originally, because they didn't tell him when he came to the commission and said, I'd like to get a tie-in. They didn't give him the proper information. They didn't say, okay, well, here's what you gotta do. You gotta go fill out a permit and submit it and bring it back to us, and we have a policy in place, and if that meets this policy, then boom, you're all set. That would have been done 2 years ago.
You want to make that motion contingent on this criteria?
I think that that criteria has already been in place. It's already a precedent set.
Contingent on legal counsel's opinion, you mean?
Well, what we have right now on the policy that's existing is what we're going by.
And that's what we're going by. That's why that's why I'm saying I think that we should grant him, if his permit is, if he's crossed all his Ts and dotted all his Is with the permit that follows this, then he gets it. If he hasn't done that, and there's something that doesn't jive with this, well, then he has to go back to the drawing board or whatever. But if his permit follows these guidelines.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are we going to let him, suppose you vote him in, you give him a yay vote, Is he gonna use the one stub, or is he gonna do a live tap into the force main, get another stub, or how's that gonna work physically on the ground?
Well, that's a pressure main. They can do a tap on a pressure main.
I know they can, I'm
Yeah.
just,
But that would.
because I need,
that would
I need
be-
to know what we're gonna do if that's, because I'm
Right.
gonna be inspecting it.
That would, I would say ultimately, that would become out of, that would be on him.
Just for full disclosure, the reason I'm doing this, I'm trying to sell a property, and whatever the sewer department decides that you want done, that will be whatever the people want to do. I mean, if you say do something, they'll have to do it. I mean, that's.
So what would have to
Come under our
do?
criteria.
So I think
My criteria would be to tap it.
you would have it tapped. So,
We have a vote.
well, like I said, I give him a yay vote, but you guys can put a contingency on there or vote yay or nay or whatever.
Well,
That's-
I go along with your vote. I agree that we should allow him to connect.
I just think that that's the right thing to do. We can have legal look at this and say, this is a good contract, and we'll continue to use it going forward. If there's any changes or errors in there, we can rectify them going forward, but I think that he's been in this process for 2 years under this policy or this procedure. If he is complied with that, then I think, my personal opinion is
Mike,
that
have
we give it to him.
you provided a proposed plan?
No, this hookup is all contingent on selling the property.
I think we should see a proposed plan.
Was it,
Again,
he's not gonna spend the money.
Yeah.
That would be after you say, okay, we grant you the thing, then you have to come up with a plan and say, this is my plan to do that project.
What'll happen, the property will then, I have 2 young fellows that want to buy the property and build houses. And if I get the 2 hookups, I'm going to sell the property, and then they'll come in front of the boards and the planning board and so forth and so on. It's a process in my eyes. I'm not a builder, I'm not a developer. It's just that without this, I can't go forward with other things.
You're talking multiple services over there?
2 houses.
You have one existing connection, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that,
And it's
okay.
over, we have plenty of frontage.
Yep, yep.
It's over almost 3 acres of land, so it's,
For that 3-acre land, you just want that one connection?
no, it's 3 acres of land that'll be split up for 2 homes.
It'll be an acre and a half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be a nice piece of property and so forth if I can just get because it won't hurt.
So the existing
There is an
lot
existing-
that you're looking for the connection for
Yes.
is already an approved
Yes.
Form A lot, is that
No, it's
correct?
not approved yet.
Oh, it's not?
It hasn't been brought in front of the planning board because right now there's one sewer hookup for a 2.87 acre piece of property. And what I was looking for, and I was told to come to the sewer department first and get the other hookup so that then it can proceed to go to Form A and split it up into 2 houses.
So you actually don't have a lot for a connection? You actually don't have a buildable lot for a connection, is that correct?
Well, there's no Form A, no, not yet.
It's not anything, it's still part of another lot that already has a connection, and you're subdividing that,
Yes.
and you don't have permission to subdivide that as yet?
No.
And so that's, is that lot 4265 on page 42 of the assessors map? Is that the property? And then there's another one, 4224. Which of those two is the one that you're,
I have to look at it, I don't,
okay. Yeah.
the one that borders Kilby Street.
These are the 2 lots here. I went up and got the assessors map. And now, is this the property you're going to subdivide, or this
No,
one?
this is the property of the town bought. This is.
Okay.
This has already been Form A.
Okay.
This
This is a-
right here
yeah.
is 4224.
Okay,
Is the property that I own. It
okay.
has the 461 feet of frontage.
That's correct.
And this my sister owns here,
Okay,
which has been subdivided in a Form A. So, because the town owns,
so this,
oh no, I guess my sister owns this and the town owns this now.
yeah,
Okay. But so this right here, and I was told to come to this process 2 years ago, before you go through a Form A, that was from an engineer, to see if there was a sewer hookup, because if you go through the process of doing Form A, you don't get the sewer hookup, then it's a moot point altogether.
Mike, I don't think we have the right to assign a new service. Okay, each lot has to have its own service, first of all, and you have not subdivided the lot, and it's not a buildable lot as yet, is that correct?
That's, yeah, right now.
You know what, I think we need to table this issue until Mike gets squared away with the property there, whether he has a one lot or two lots. Apparently, still one single lot, one single connection.
But it's-
I-
What is it?
This, I was told, that I was, but this, now, again, I'm not an engineer.
Some people will tell you you're gonna get rich, Mike, but you don't, so,
But see, does anybody in this town have a process on how to go through doing something like this? Or now, after 2 years, I'm being told to do something different?
The first part of the process, if you want to subdivide your land, is to go to the planning board with an engineered plan of how you're going to subdivide it, okay, where the frontage is and how many square feet, so that they can tell you whether you need their approval for a Form A lot or not. Okay, that's the start of it, and some of the questions they might ask you, is there water available? Is there sewer available? Okay? You
Okay,
can't
now,
create a
wait
lot
second.
without any
Wait a second.
utilities.
You just asked the same question. Is there sewer available? Excuse me, board, is there sewer available?
Does your lot qualify for it? And at this point, it does not, because it's
So in other
one
words, I can
lot.
go back and forth for another 2 years going,
No.
because one board will say, go to the sewer department and see if there's sewer available. And then you're gonna say, well, do you have a plan, Form A? I'm gonna say, I can't get a Form A until I find out if there's sewer available.
Well-
Do you see the frustration that's going on here?
There is a sewer line there, and sewer
Right.
is potentially available.
Will you people vote to give me the capacity to have 2 homes? That's all I'm asking. Then I go to the planning board, and when they ask the question, is this sewer available, I can say yes.
We can say yes. We would have to say yes, but the planning board will query you about utility.
Right, but I know there's electric, I know there's water on the same side of the street, it's already there, because there's a hydrant right there, and it's on that side of the
Have
street.
you perked the land to see if it'll take us?
It won't perk.
It won't perk, okay.
It will not perk.
So you want to tell them that, and you want to go there, tell them that it won't perk, and you want to make a buildable lot out of it.
And then I come back here in front of the board, and the board can sit, again, there'll be new commissioners and so forth, and you'll say, no, there's no capacity.
Well, I think what we should do, my suggestion is, we should table this issue first of all until Mike gets squared away with that lot, hold on, Mike, hold on. And when- if he-
But as far as I'm concerned.
Let me finish.
I have been told what to do from day one, and this is the process. And it's a matter of taking the step up the ladder. If there's no sewer, there's no sense in going and doing a Plan A.
Mike, did you have the advice of an engineer to
The guy that did the last-
guide you through this?
No, I talked to the guy that did the Form A on the original 9 acres.
And I think the contingency should be, if that lot can be subdivided, okay, if that lot can be subdivided to become a buildable lot, then I think we probably would have to give them some.
Tom, do you have,
Yeah, hopefully I can add some clarity to this, because there's been someone, I've sat through these meetings where Mr. Noonan's come in, and again, I can share and empathize with his frustration, but now this throws a new twist in it. And the thing is, if he has enough, my understanding is, if he has enough frontage
Which I do.
for
3 lots.
how many? 3?
3.
Yeah. Form A is actually a process whereby the planning board says that you don't need approval under the subdivision control, okay, law. And you're entitled to create a buildable lot, with a plan. And there's nothing in the existing law that requires, unlike a subdivision, where you have, the Board of Health gets to weigh in on the septic system / sewer issue. On a Form A, that's not an inquiry that's made by the planning board. It's simply that you go in, you show them you have enough frontage, okay, on a public way or a way that, existing way that's been accepted as acceptable to the planning board, and you get to create a lot. It doesn't necessarily mean for zoning purposes you have a buildable lot, or for sewer purposes you have a buildable lot. So I just want to clarify that process, so that if he goes and does a Form A, the issue about whether or not he has sewer or not is not going to be on the table. That's my understanding. However, I am kind of concerned at this point where he had indicated that he's selling to a couple guys who are going to build some houses. And, you do have a capacity issue here, okay? And, these guys may be telling him, oh, we're just gonna build a couple of houses, okay? But you don't know what their real plan is here. I mean, they could be looking to do a 40B in there. And once you grant that hookup, okay, that 40B can make a claim on almost all the rest of your capacity that you have. Okay, so you're really kind of opening Pandora's box here. I think any vote that you guys make, if you decide to vote today, has to be conditioned based on the representations that have been made to Mr. Noonan, that Mr. Noonan in turn is making to you. Because I'm sure Mr. Noonan doesn't, he's telling you what he's being told, and so you got to protect the town, so to speak, in this situation.
The stipulation from day one, though, was that there was only going to be, because I said this from day one, the first meeting I came to, that I was going to sell it, and I was told that they could only put 2 3-bedroom homes on that property. So that is part that these 2 young fellows know. It's only 2 3-bedroom homes that, or one 3-bedroom home for each hookup. So there's no 40B or anything else that's going into stipulation. But that goes back to the first meeting that I came to, and I was told by the board at that time that a sewer hookup is only good in the town of Hingham now for a 1-home, 3-bedroom. And that's part of the deal.
And now you're talking multiple lots. If you subdivide the existing property that you have, you can use the existing service line to build one of those homes with no problem. But you don't have a buildable lot that's entitled to another service. That's our problem, and
But it's there.
we're gonna have to.
It's not a big deal to just split it down the middle, because there's plenty of frontage which you have right now.
I think we need counsel on this, because this is really,
Wait a minute, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Mike.
I know you weren't part of it, but how did the Kilby Street property, Lombardo's property, get that?
no idea, Mike, no idea.
Did they do a Form A? See, you don't know.
We don't know.
And so I'm just asking, and I don't know whether it was there or not.
Yeah, we don't know that, and so I think we're gonna have to take a hard look with council on this, because you don't have a buildable lot. If you had a buildable lot, it would be different, Mike.
104
Okay.
It's not that, you know what I'm doing, it's common sense.
That is-
It's just-
Yeah, but
For us.
the regulations are clear that each lot each building is entitled to one service with a building. If you choose to subdivide that property after the fact, okay, of the agreement and so forth and so on, that's a different story. And that's what you're trying to do here, but you haven't subdivided the land yet.
But the idea is that from day one, 2 years, this is the process I've been told, and every time I'm coming here, and I was told to come to the sewer, knowing, the full disclosure, that there was gonna be 2 homes, because there's already one hookup there. That's what I've been doing for 2 years, and then you came on board last meeting and told me to go do an application. I've done the application under all the rules and regulations, and if you permit for an additional sewer hookup for a 1-home, 3-bedroom, which is under your rules and regulations, we can move on.
But it's not an existing buildable lot. I mean,
But you can't answer the question about those.
Tom, do you want to?
Yeah, Tom Pyle, 727 Main Street, from the Advisory Committee as liaison to the Sewer Commission. I can't believe the frustration that you've been through for the last couple of years, and I empathize with it totally. On the other hand, there seems to be so many issues right now, not to frustrate you anymore, but I don't think any of us want to see ourselves in a position where we're exposing the town to anything from a legal standpoint. I would strongly advise, if you're going to take a vote, to make sure it's contingent upon legal advice, and you have issues that you want to cover from a legal standpoint. I would just agree with Tom and with Randy and basically say, please get some counsel on this so that we're doing the right thing by Mr. Noonan and by the town as well.
It's already voted on once, but unanimous, and now if you can vote on it again, for whatever contingencies you want. I'm just beyond frustration of coming in every month and getting nothing done.
So Mike,
We can make that contingent within 2 weeks on town council?
if town council can do it within 2 weeks.
Yeah, why not?
I'm still trying to follow you went to the town and you said, I want to subdivide this land, and they said, yeah, okay, but
I went to an engineer first.
Oh, you went to an engineer.
And he said the process that he was familiar with, because instead of going through the expense and so forth, of hiring an engineer and doing another Form A, because we just did it, to split up the 9 acres, he said, go and make sure all the utilities are available. Electric and water are right there, and it was a matter of getting another sewer hookup. So that's where it all started from day one, and now there's 2 new commissioners, and I thought that was under full disclosure that that's what I was doing, and nobody's ever told me until right now that I have to subdivide the land, which means to me I can subdivide and do a Form A, but come back and not get the sewer hookup.
That's not what I said.
No, but you want, without the form.
Mike, trust me, I know you're frustrated, and so am I, because we're trying to get through the minutia here and do the right thing by the town, but we cannot expose ourselves and the town to liability. It's in the clear that each lot, okay, gets its own connection. When this sewer system was installed, those people who signed up for those connections and started paying their betterments, those are the people who are entitled to service, okay? And then these after lots, or these after things where they could be subdivided, the capacity in the bedrooms were reserved for that. That doesn't mean that under the circumstances that if we go forward and we get a good, clear picture of what we're doing, we don't expose ourselves in this town to liability, okay. But if it's a problem, and I see the one problem is you haven't convinced me that you have a second building lot there. That's my problem with it. It's clear. You haven't done it, you haven't subdivided that, and,
Right,
you know.
the frontage is there, and that's all you have to really know about having another buildable property. You're not.
Did the building department tell you have a buildable lot there, or did the planning board sign off saying planning board approval not needed? Because a lot of those Form A's lots, that's what it is.
We're not going anywhere today, are we?
I'm trying to send you the right direction.
We're just not going anywhere today, are we? Then I want you to tell me, Mr. Robert Higgins, the avenue to take in this town of Hingham on how I get this done. I need direction, and you're the only one that seems to want to give me any direction. I want direction from you right now.
I want you to come back to this commission with an approved building lot for our consideration of your permit. That's all I'm asking for. And I think that's what we're entitled to. I mean,
What will be the possibilities of me giving you?
And before we do that-
I'll be under a new agreement with the sewer.
well, we're going to talk to council first, okay? I can't say one way or the other what we're going to do, but what I can say is we're going to review it, we're going to go to council, and we have to protect the town from liability, Mike.
I don't know why there is to add a sewer,
Well-
but that's okay. You know, we're getting nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Thank you.
What are we doing on that?
I mean, it's only one lot, one buildable lot, and it's clear, and it's in the clear about each lot, and they have a connection to that lot. And they're taking service from what I understand. Now, they want to subdivide it. They've gone to everyone that I can think of in the town to say, we want to subdivide this, but there's no approval that it is a buildable lot, that it has been subdivided. I think it's an issue we need to talk to council with, Randy.
Is that what you want me to do, is take those policies and give them to council to get an opinion on them?
Well, I think we're going to have to do that anyhow, Randy, because I haven't gone through all of these ones that we talked about, and I need to go through it some more. I haven't had the time to look at it.
John?
It's voluminous to get through there. But I think on this particular issue, because we don't want to change policy on this guy and say no. We want to be able to be in the clear about what the existing policy is when he pulled his permit. I don't think we can go changing on, so we have to go by that, but
Well, do we want to make sure that the policy's legal first?
Yeah, I mean, we want to talk to
So
council.
do you want me to engage council to look
Yes.
at these policies?
Yes.
2 weeks, 2-week period, over a 2-week period.
I don't know their schedule, Ed.
No, I mean, we want it, we'd like to have it in 2 weeks, you know?
I will do the best I can.
Well,
we
we're
can
scheduled to
request-
meet again, what, on the 30th
Yeah, we want
of
one before
October?
I will try to get it done by the 30th.
Okay.
that. Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted something for clarification to help everybody understand. The Form A process doesn't create a buildable lot, okay? What it does is it allows you to divide a piece of land rather than going through the full subdivision control process. The full subdivision control process requires the Board of Health to give an opinion to the planning board about the availability of, sanitary waste disposal availability, whether it's on-site septic system or whether it's sewer, okay? So the issue of whether or not he can create a lot, okay, just essentially divide a lot, okay, let's put it that way, all right, is what occurs under Form A, because he's not going through the full subdivision process. The planning board doesn't sit there and say, what's the deal with the sanitary waste issue? They just basically look to see what the issue is with frontage. They also look to see whether or not there's any other reason out there, if the property was part of a prior subdivision, that there was a condition saying no further subdivision or something like that, okay? So I just want to make it clear on that, whether it's a buildable lot, okay, goes through, it has a connotation of additional things. So for example, whether the rest of the lot meets zoning, whether, there's some other requirement on it, for example, conservation, or whether historic has jurisdiction. So whether it's actually buildable, there are other layers of potential jurisdictional review. So I just want to make sure you understand the distinction when you say, when you talk about you haven't shown us it's a buildable lot versus you haven't shown us that you have an actual separate lot. Okay, buildable lot versus, because not all lots are buildable. So from what it sounds like right now, he has one piece of property that if you voted right now, just gave him another connection, he'd in fact have 2 connections to one lot.
And that's what we're trying to avoid, because we cannot do that.
Right, and what I'm saying, and I'm not going to weigh in on that. But the thing is, and I understand his frustration and share his frustration, but I think at the end of the day, he indicated, it's an expense issue because he doesn't want to put the expense out to, have a Form A plan done, which is literally actually, an engineer does a plan and then or a surveyor just puts a line down wherever the frontage is. He doesn't want to do the expense of that because of the uncertainty of whether or not then you guys would give him a hookup for the other lot. But something, in fairness, he's being a developer here, regardless of whether or not he's actually going to build the houses or he's selling it. He's essentially being a developer here. That is part of your development costs. If you need to spend some money, Eric, if you need to spend some money, you got to do what you got to do. And I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to basically say, I don't want to spend that money until I know, okay? And as Eric can probably tell you, there's plenty of times you got to spend the money on the risk that it's not going to happen. Okay, you hope it's going to happen, but so I'm getting to your point, Mr. Higgins, is that I just want to make sure everybody understands the difference between a buildable lot versus a separate lot, okay? And that's one of the things I think you need to deal with here, because I'm not so sure that your decision to grant a sewer hookup has to be if it's a buildable lot. I think it just has to be, again, I haven't read that policy, but it seemed to me it would have to be another lot. Do you know what I'm saying? Not a, quote, buildable lot, because the buildable lot has a connotation of additional stuff that he needs to be able to...
Needs a separate lot.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he still has to have a surveyed plan with the layout lines of the lot.
He needs to create a lot.
He needs to create, which he has not
He needs to
done.
create a separate
That's what you
lot.
asked me to do, right?
I asked him
You
to,
can then grant,
Yeah.
because otherwise, and again, I throw this out to the board, and I'm not saying that this is what he's trying to do, but that everybody knows the drill. Developers come in and give you blue sky. There's a developer in this town that's famous for buying essentially what people think buying retail, and in his head, he's buying wholesale because he's decided he's got all these other plans for the property, okay? You can't rely on what your buyer is telling you. You have to look at the worst-case scenario. And the worst-case scenario, and this is not casting aspersions at all on Mr. Noonan, he's just telling you what he's been told, okay? But those guys aren't in here, okay? So there's a panoply of things they can do. And one of the things you have to guard against is, you know, a 40B hookup, because there's case law out there that basically suggests that if you allow a hookup, and if you don't specifically condition it on this is a hookup for a 3-bedroom single family, okay, that potentially somebody can waltz in and build 5 units and now has a claim on your capacity, okay, because of the theory that you just gave him a hookup. And, you know, under 40B, he should be able to make a claim on your capacity. So you got to be very careful with that to make sure that your hookups are contingent on a specific
3-bedroom.
3 bedrooms is going to be 3 bedrooms. Make that a condition of any permit that you grant or whatever it is you guys approval that you grant.
But the same, I mean, you have to have a standard bearer for granting a permit, and it's written into the rules and regulations, 1 lot, 1 connection. Okay? That's it. It's not, you know?
Eric hit the nail on the head. He just doesn't have a lot at this point.
Exactly, he does not have a lot, and he hasn't had a lot for 2 years, and all this maneuvering that's been going on.
But I just want to make
You know,
clear,
the
it's
risk,
not a buildable
Tommy,
lot.
listen to me for a minute. The risk of development is on the developer, not the commission or the town, okay? It's a private matter. They have to go about their business of going through the permitting process to get that lot permitted, not us, okay?
Okay, I'm just saying, just make sure you understand that the distinction between a lot versus buildable lot. And your policy says a lot, don't layer on the buildable aspect.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
I think we talked enough about
Yeah,
it.
we talked it to death here, let's move on.
Making sure
Let's,
it's clear.
You're gonna say
I don't know where we
contingent-
stand at this, I mean,
Can I make a
Thank you.
motion to table this until we can get through to?
No, contingent on, it's a bill.
Well,
let's, you know, let's give him a little bit more guidance, a little bit more information on our end. Say, hey, you know what, and again, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg here, but tell him, we need you to subdivide your lot. Once you subdivide your lot, then you can apply for a sewer hookup.
I mean, that's what he's been told here basically today.
Right.
Bring us that
Well, I mean,
information
I think with some of his 2 years of going back and forth and frustration, he just wasn't hearing that, but,
Well-
you know, whether we send him a letter or,
I feel bad for the guy, quite frankly,
Yeah,
because
I mean-
he's like a misguided missile with all people telling him, getting in his head. He was never given the correct information, whether it was us or anyone else.
Right.
But he had hired an engineer to look at the land, to subdivide it for him. That engineer should have gone to the planning board with an outlined plan, a surveyed plan that says, here it is. Then they're gonna say, okay, it meets all the setbacks, it meets this and meets that. Planning board approval not needed, it's a done deal. He's got a buildable lot. That's all I'm saying, and that's
Yeah.
how they do it, Eric. It's-
right, no, I agree with you, so, I mean,
don't
I guess
wanna-
we have to table, I'm just trying to,
Table it on.
I mean, I think, you know, like he says, is we have to make sure that
We
it's
have to
not
we gotta talk to
a
council.
a lot where he can pile on a 40B, or it's not so much him, but whoever buys it, whether it's him or the next guy or the guy after that. So I think we need
You made an
to talk to
emotion.
council
You
and,
gave him advice. Contingent,
I gave him the advice that I think will send him to the right place.
yeah, contingent on,
Well, if he gets a lot that's approved, okay, if
He's
he
an
gets an
approved
approved lot, then we'll take a look at the permit after we review this with council to make sure that we're not opening up our town to a lot of liability. And I would make a motion to table this issue
Yep.
until we can get through all this
yeah,
minutia.
contingent on approval is a law, is a
well,
law.
right now, we're gonna just table it.
Just table it.
Okay.
We're just gonna table, we're not gonna take a vote, we're not gonna do anything, we're gonna table it, we're gonna,
Because I want
consult with,
Mr. Noonan to be treated very fairly in this issue.
right, so we're
I
gonna
know he's
consult with
looking at
legal.
Contingent on council,
We're gonna consult with the legal, and they're gonna go over that, and they say, yeah, this is okay, or no, it's not okay, or whatever, we'll tweak that.
I will,
and then-
Okay.
I'll have Liz get in touch with council, we'll give them the policies, and they will give an opinion, and we'll bring it back to the commission.
Okay, it's contingent on
But I
council
think this
approval.
particular situation, Randy,
Well, I think you should find out
Yeah,
about the,
exactly.
about the policies,
See, it's-
and
It's
that's
not
something
contingent, Ed,
that
it's
we're
tabled.
working with
It's
Western
not contingent,
Sampson.
it's tabled.
Maybe we incorporate everything, if they find anything in the policy, we can
We're tabling it
incorporate a
right
new
now.
policy.
Table it, we're
because I
not
think we're
gonna-
going to have to give him an answer in the
have to table
October 30th meeting, one way or the other, in that way, you know? Make a motion to cut off the discussion on this issue.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yeah.
Part of this process, and again, I haven't read your policies, so I'm sort of running a little blind here, but if the policy says a lot, okay, then as part of, you're not changing policy if you define your terms, okay? So if there's no definition of a lot in your policy, then it's not a change of, of the policy to now define what you mean by the lot, so that someone going forward understands what it is that they have to have in order to be able to ask for a connection. A lot is defined as follows. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
that way, this
Clarity.
situation with Mr. Noonan hopefully doesn't repeat itself.
So you have clarity on it.
Exactly. You're defining it rather than changing it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
I agree with
we'll
that.
table it
We'll
on,
table it,
Let's table this for now.
table it, have legal look at it,
contingent on
you guys
legal
can decide
counsel.
on it,
Okay,
and we can decide on the next.
Okay?
okay.
All right, the next item is consolidation agreement.
Could I ask something?
Sure.
One more time.
Tom Piles, 727 Main Street Advisory Committee Liaison. You're talking about revising or looking at to revise a policy. First question I have is the Ware River District policy the same as policies for the rest of the town, or the other districts? Is it a town?
No.
I guess I was under the impression that, that the sewer commission, one of the issues that they were going to deal with over a period of time was to take a look at the town's policies on betterment. And perhaps it would be one policy, because I didn't know there was a different policy for different districts. And one question is why? Why is there different policies for different districts? So that's one issue. We didn't talk about the Ship and Cottage Street betterment. We didn't have a discussion about that. I don't know whether the policy that existed 2 years ago for that district is in place and has been reviewed. I thought that the original discussion was going to be about that district's policy versus the Ware River district policy. Regardless of whether we're looking at one or several different policies, I think that it is your responsibility to see that there's consistencies between policies, if not one policy for all districts. And there ought to be a process. I don't know what the rules are for
There's a difference,
amending.
Tom, because we have a intermunicipal agreement with the town of Hull on the Ware River, and the other North Sewer District is under the MWRA. So
Fine. There ought to be consistencies between policies, unless there are some issues that deal with Hull versus MWR. But if the commission is looking to amend one policy or another, or make them consistent, I don't know whether there's rules on what that means. But I would suggest very strongly that there ought to be proper diligence that concerns public hearings when you do make a change to policies, and that there ought to be availability for the public to weigh in on those policies. And one suggestion that I talked to Ed about earlier is to make sure that those public availabilities are aired, socialized, and are accessible. I think that one issue that I have is that the public doesn't have an ability to weigh in when you have an 8:30 a.m. meeting, and I would suggest strongly that if you're going to make suggestions for changes of policies following certain rules, and again, that would, the council could help you with what those are, but I would make a strong suggestion that you have an open public hearing about those changes that are available at such time, like a nighttime meeting, so that the public has an ability to weigh in on those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item is the consolidation agreement.
Do you have the one I gave you?
Yes.
Well, that's a new one, yeah, right? You have one there.
Yeah, these are copies of. Okay. Do we?
Discussion on that?
We've beaten this up pretty good over the last couple of months, and I think we just, I mean, there are 3 basic changes that we've already basically agreed on, okay, one of which is the emergency use 2.2 on the emergency funding. Okay, I think that's all set. And this agreement, I think, needs to be permanent, and we've agreed on that. And we've also made one other small change, and, you know, we're beating this horse to death here. The department, under selectmen responsibilities, where the DPW administration, let's get that out of the town hall office, because there's no office here, and just get that wording in there so that it's representative at the DPW administration and the DPW office. That's clear of that. There's dispute resolution in here. If anybody has a problem, there's a way to go. I just don't see anything in here. We're not an operational, all the operations belong with the DPW.
Yes, but you know, as far as expending the funds, as the sewer commissioners have the responsibility for all funds that are expended.
Okay, but
That was,
is that in a budgetary issue as opposed to an agreement issue? I mean, you don't need an agreement to.
Well, I know the council, Susan Murphy, stated that the commissioners are the only ones that can put out the expenditures of the sewer commission. So, I mean, there's a problem there if we're not involved in projects that are coming up.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
The commission votes the budget that we put forth, allowing us to spend the money, and also a capital budget, which has those projects put forth before them. Any other projects that we have usually comes to the meeting before we expend any money for your approval. That's about it.
So we have a mechanism in place to work with the DPW, and the DPW with us to review and plan and look at expenditures and so forth and so on.
You know, one of the things seems to be a big issue is the office, the sewer commission's office. Randy and I had a conversation, I think 2 weeks ago, about office space and whatnot, and, you know, there was a little bit of a disagreement between Randy and I said, well, where is the sewer commission's office? There is no separate office where we can go and read a contract or look up information, or we just kind of go into that one big room and we ask for information, then we get it, and they said, well, you know what, you can sit at that desk over there. And for me, when I've gone over there and asked that, and they said, sit at that desk, I mean, I'm friendly with a lot of the guys that work there and a lot of the people that work there, so as I'm trying to read and concentrate some, and somebody comes in and says, hey, how you doing, what's going on, oh, what are you up to today? It's very hectic at times when a lot of the people going in and out of there, so, you know, it's written in the old, or the original contract, that the office would stay here, it's not here, so be it. But I think we definitely need a separate space over there.
We will make available space for you to review any documents in the privacy that you need.
But I think,
It will be upstairs, away from everybody, and you can have anything you need.
part of that office thing, though, is as people come in, for whatever reason, I'm not in the office to see what people come in, whether it's dispute a bill because their water line broke and leaked and their sewer bill went crazy or whatever. You know, again, I think that they also need some kind of privacy type thing. I mean, it's kind of a big office. It's got 3 or 4 secretaries in there or whatever, where, again, I think you need more of a office where they can come in and have a sit-down, one-on-one type thing, where, you know, I think
Well, and
that
that's
the building's
handled in your
plenty big enough.
office, right?
I think that
Disputes like that on your billing and your consumption
There
and
has
stuff.
been no, to my knowledge, never a dispute on billing as someone coming into the office.
Yeah.
Usually it's over the phone, and we take many questions over the phone as far
Sure,
as billing goes.
Yeah, okay.
When bills go out, it's, 30, 40
Customer
a week.
service is right there to
Okay.
answer the questions.
And,
Yep.
yes,
Okay,
and it's dealt with normally over the phone. I have not had anyone come in and dispute a bill, and if there is, we have facilities to take
Yeah.
people aside. Not that we have, because we've never had that happen.
so,
Well, I
I'd
mean-
like to just go over the statement of work. Tom?
Yeah, I just have a couple of quick comments. As to Eric's point, I think, that's a vision thing, and it's not saying one side's right and the other side's wrong. I think there's a vision in the selectman's office to, on all offices in the town, to have increased consolidation and having them be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, essentially almost becoming like a mayor form of town government. We have, historically, we've had sort of a diffused town government of elected bodies, which is more accountable because you take the risk when you have a single entity appointing everybody. There's problems there, and I think that historically the town was set up to have a diffused structure of authority to be answerable separately, elected. Okay. You have towns like Wellesley, which has consolidated the DPW with the water company, with their own water thing, and everything is consolidated right under the DPW. But they had to do some special legislation to do that. So that's a vision thing, because, for example, you have the treasurer and the tax collector is one office. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's a consolidated, there's efficiencies there. So that's the value of that argument. We're saving people money. But on the other hand, who are you really answerable to? So, there's competing visions there, all right? The second thing I want to get to is one of the points that I've been hammering home over and over and over again, and it goes essentially to, or touches on the comment of Mr. Piles. The thing is, we have 2 sewer districts in this town, and, both have their separate enabling legislation. Both have their separate issues, okay, and yeah, obviously it makes sense to have as much efficiency as you can, to have common, policies, what have you, to the extent that you can have it. But this is the issue, and I think unfortunately it is what it is. And I think one of the issues that you guys have to realize too is that under that enabling authority. And the general laws, okay, you have to be very careful about trying to delegate your authority to someone else, because it raises a legal question of just how far you can go, okay? Because when you have legislation saying that you will have the exclusive authority, Okay, the commission has exclusive authority over matters involving sewer, okay? You know, you have to be really careful, because there's a blurry line there where now you're delegating your authority under a contract to an entity which comes under the Board of Selectmen and is primarily answerable to them. And that's the reason why, for example, I had this discussion with Ed, and I had it with Eric about, you know, getting legal counsel to review that contract. I think it makes absolutely perfect sense that the sewer commission should be able to get legal counsel to review this contract, because the problem you have is the one who's putting the contract together is the town council, who's being appointed by the town administrator, who's appointed by the selectmen. And I would have thought that that town council would have welcomed and even suggested that you guys get your own counsel to review it, because you guys have your own responsibilities under that enabling legislation, that you have to make sure that you're complying with those. And there's at least an appearance, in my opinion, an appearance of conflict of interest if you have the same counsel, you know, who's prepared the contract on behalf of essentially the Board of Selectmen, then giving you an opinion that you guys are doing everything right in terms of you know, entering into that contract. Unfortunately, the law is the law, and the law basically says that, you know, essentially the Board of Selectmen have to, you know, give their consent to acquiring, you know, to using town council, or you can go to town meeting. And that's very clear. You can go to town meeting, and if the Board of Selectmen don't want to do that, you know, then you go to town meeting and simply say to town meeting, you know, we want to get our own counsel, okay? And town meeting has the authority, and there's an SJC decision that says that, okay? So, you know, I just want to put that out there in terms of this contract. I mean, it makes sense for certain efficiencies. I get it, okay? But on the other hand, you know, you can have as many efficiencies as possible, and we're almost back to what the issue was with Mr. Noonan. You can have as many efficiencies as possible, but you guys still at the end of the day have to comply with your legal obligations. And no amount of efficiency can justify you guys violating your legal obligations. So when you guys, you know, go forward on this, I'm suggesting that your number one focus should be, well, it's great that we can save all this potential money, but we can't do it in an illegal fashion, okay? So we have to satisfy ourselves that what we're doing is legal, okay? And again, with all due respect, I think you should be, you know, you should get your own outside counsel to review that and look at that and give you an opinion so that you guys can go forward on that. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so we could do a contingent on town council review on the consolidation.
You know, this
agreement?
is just in my opinion, okay, first of all, this consolidation agreement, I think, is a good agreement for the town.
That's your opinion, but, you know,
Well,
the
okay.
hiring, we can go right through this consolidation agreement, contract, Exhibit A, statement of work. Hiring and firing will be subject to commission approval. Now, they're trying to change that, okay? Responsibility, commission chairman shall speak.
Okay, well, can we, let's take, if we're going to go through your list there, let's take it one at a time. Commission, what was that you just read?
Commission, chairman shall speak for commission based on a majority vote of commission.
Okay.
Okay.
So the hiring and fire will be based on majority vote of the commission. I haven't been here long enough to hire or fire anybody, but
Okay.
has the town or the commission followed through with that? Is that in working order?
Oh, we haven't had the input on the hiring and firing.
Once the consolidation agreement was reached, the hiring of personnel for the sewer department has not been handled by the commission, is that correct? We haven't been hiring and firing anybody since the,
But that was the original agreement, though. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And the commission hasn't had input on the hiring and firing.
We're responsible as ratepayers.
Can I say one thing?
yeah, go ahead, Steve.
As in, Steve, when we hired the sewer supervisor, I went through the process, got the notices out, did the interviews, came down with candidates, it then went up the level to the town administrator. He then made a decision and brought it to the commission, and I believe the commission had input on that and voted on it. I believe that's the
I
way.
believe Ed made the motion to hire me.
Right, that was true, yeah.
So
You had input on,
No, actually, the town administrator handled the whole thing. We didn't have that much input as far as the commission.
you actually hired Steve.
And we voted, yeah, because on the chairman's suggestion, that we vote for,
I don't know what to say about that.
oh, okay. Well, so, whatever.
see, that's where the commission shall speak for commission based on a majority vote of commission, you know?
But it was a vote by the commission, total commission.
Yeah.
Voted Steve to take that
Right,
position.
okay.
Which is fine. Steve's doing a great job. So,
I mean, the only reason
just-
I'm saying that has nothing to do with Steve's job or what,
I was
good or
gonna say,
bad.
I don't know how you got on the hot seat. It was
It's
just a
that the
simple
commission
question
was
for the commission.
involved in the process.
The commission was
They made the
involved in the
final
process.
decision.
I wasn't
That's
here
my
for that,
point.
Bob wasn't here for that, so.
So the next item is commission shall retain responsibility for sewer policy planning.
No, I thought which one you on now?
Right here.
Let me get on the same page here. I'm not on the right page. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Commission planning shall include prioritization of annual capital expenditures for sewer pump station repair and refurbishment.
What happened to number one? Commission chairman shall speak for and act
Yeah.
on behalf of the commission.
Based on a majority vote of the commission.
So this original contract doesn't say that. It just says chairman shall speak for and act on behalf of the commission.
Yeah, one voice,
One voice.
one voice.
Well, it eliminates the other two. So that's why in the new one,
No, but
it
we
says
have
upon majority vote.
But our voice is, prior to the vote, we have a voice to it and to the public, and everybody else.
So what I'm saying is the original contract that we're operating under now, there needs to be just a little bit more clarification on this or a better description of it. Right now, it says, so Ed, from what I understand, because I had a meeting with the town administrator, that the whole office issue was between him and the past chairman. And the other two commissioners didn't vote on it or weren't involved in that process. So now it says upon majority of, so if we say, you know, we want to change a policy or buy a new truck or whatever, I don't even know what it is, but move the office, whatever, it would have to come to us. We would make a decision on it, and then Ed, or the chairman, whoever the chairman is at that time, could then go to whoever, the selectman, town administrator, Randy, Steve, whoever, and say, yeah, we took a vote on that, and we decided to go with that, or we didn't decide to go with it. But right now, this original one seems a little vague. The chairman will speak and act on behalf of the commission.
You know, there's a lot of things in here that have not been violated from the original agreement. So I think that we should contingent on the commission having a review with the town council, with council, rather.
You know, again, I'm okay with that. I mean, I mean, if we continue to go down these, we can discuss them.
Today's
You know, again, this particular one here, I don't think is a big deal. We added a couple of words based on the majority vote of the commission. I don't think that's a big deal. You don't look.
If we beat this thing up any more than it is, we're gonna run out of time with the agreement to begin with.
We can always
The
extend it.
the agreement is done today, is today the 30th?
Today,
We can extend it for,
The selectmen have to extend it
Side,
also.
yeah.
Right. So, I mean, do you, I guess my question right out is, do you agree with upon majority vote, or you disagree with that?
No, we already do that. When an issue comes to us through here, okay, then we beat it up, we say okay or nay or whatever it is, Okay, we have that voice, but someone on the commission, and it's always the chair, should be the person who is the point person on whatever it is that we're working on, and if he has to interact with the selectmen or the DPW or others, he has the authority to do that because we gave it to him, Eric. Okay?
I understand that, but from from what I found out, or my research is that the past chairman moved the office from here over there without the majority rule. And I think the way that this is written, the original contract is written, that you can make that argument. You say, well, I speak for the chair, or for the board. And this is just a minor couple of words that says...
I mean, certainly you can put
so
in
that
there
it's
anything you want.
rectified on that.
And this is kind of, that I deal with another board, if we come upon a tree that is in bad condition, needs to come down, and it's in a scenic road district, I usually call the planner, Mary Savage Dunham, and she gets a hold of the chairman of the, I don't know, I forgot the tree.
Shade tree?
No, it's not the shade tree, because I'm involved in shade, it's the...
Planning,
No, it's not beautification.
Okay, well...
oh, scenic roads,
Scenic roads, I
Scenic
think it's the
roads.
planning board.
Yeah.
The planning board.
planning board, that's right.
And she explains the situation, I give her the rating, the tree, whatnot, and then I'll get an email back saying, yes, take down the tree, it's a public safety issue, and, contingent on that you plant another tree. Yes, absolutely. So I think what we're speaking of is decisions like that, where it's, a question, it's going to be an immediate thing, and we're going to need a decision. We can't wait for the next board meeting.
Right.
I think that's what that is saying on. Now, whether they move the office or not, I don't know who made that decision. I just did what I had to do. So if we have to wait for you guys to get together on some issues, it's going to be too late. So that's what I think this agreement is trying to say, is that if there's a decision has to be made, and we have to get a decision, then we're going to talk to the chairman and have the opinion, or give us the okay to do something, or not, and they'll go from there, because there's not enough time to get a board together.
As you know, a lot of
a
things in
commission.
this department need to be addressed.
Yeah, and it's a good form of communication in between meetings also, Eric, because the issues that sometimes come up, as Randy has lamented, they need to get answers, and the best way to do that is go right to the chair. All right, if it's not too bad, he can say yes or no. I mean, if it's a policy
Like I
change...
said, I don't have a problem with one person speaking to Randy, instead of having Randy waste his day calling me to say, hey, is that okay? And they say, okay, well, yeah, well, now I'm going to call Ed and say, is that okay? Yeah. I agree with that. I am on board with that, and I understand what he's saying on some things are a timely matter. I would be more of an emergency type matter. But, for the particular thing that we're speaking on now, the movement of the office, there's no reason why you couldn't have a meeting or notify him and say, hey, you know what, can we call a meeting this week after work or whatever, just to touch base on this thing here? Yep, okay, we all agree with it, yep, no problem.
But now that's a done deal. That office from here
No,
is
I know that,
gone.
and that's water under the bridge. It's over there and staying over there. It's the least of my problems, but what I'm saying is, the way this is written, that happened, and it now has become an issue. So I think it should be, that particular thing should be written based upon majority vote. Just so you clarify that, just so, right now, hypothetically speaking, Ed doesn't overstep his bounds and say, hey, you know what, I speak for the chairman, I speak for the commission, so this is what I want. I mean, if this is the case, if we leave it like this, Ed can say, hey, you know what, I speak for the commission, and I don't want the office over there, move it back.
No, that's not going to happen.
No, you say it's not going to happen, but it already did happen.
It happened.
Well, yeah, it did happen.
Okay, so there's
But
precedent been
that's not
set,
gonna happen
that's
now.
why we
That is not
change
going to
it.
happen now.
How is it not going to happen?
Because the new address, which is stated here in the agreement, and this is an agreement that we're going to have, okay, clearly defines the location of the
Have
facility.
you gone on the town website?
And you will be able to see it at Broad Cove Road or wherever the address is for the DPW.
Right.
And if the DPW says, well, we need that room for whatever, and they're gonna call the chairman's gonna say, well, you just hold on because we have to talk about this. We have an agreement. We also have the ability, okay, in here for dispute resolution. So unfortunately, a lot of things have happened on this commission that shouldn't have happened. We're trying to go forward, okay? We're trying to bring about change, and we're trying to make the thing right, Eric. And I applaud you for that.
I
Trust me,
understand, that's why
I
we're having this
respect that.
discussion.
But this agreement just basically, as far as I'm concerned, it's an operating agreement that needs to be put into circulation with the DPW and permanently.
Like I said,
I don't see it as a big deal.
I'd accept a motion.
I think-
Contingent on the commission obtain council review consolidation agreement.
all right, hold on a minute. I agree with what you're saying, Bob, but past precedents has not operated that way. That's why we have things in writing to say that, and if it's written this way, it leaves that room. And I understand. I think the three of us wouldn't do something like that, but when did they move the office over there? A couple of years ago? It wasn't too long ago that the office got moved over there.
Has there been any other issues as far as this goes? And if that's the case, can you word it such that no major issue or decisions will be made without, because that's kind of, I think you're hashing over this one issue, and yes, it occurred, but I don't think there's anything else that's occurred without the commission knowing it. And I've already explained how it should, how I deal with it. And
That's how it should
deal
work.
with commissions and boards.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think the intent was, and if it was mishandled, I apologize for moving the office, but that's how, I was just following orders.
Well, that's the thing. I don't blame you. I'm not saying that you did anything wrong.
Well,
I'm just saying that the way this is stated, that's why we've just put, just
Right,
it's
but-
simple clarity of how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words saying upon majority vote. That's so, like you said, a big issue.
If you,
When we sign contracts.
personally, I have no,
We have to have
no
all-
issue with that. But there should be a line stating in it, let's say, an emergency situation, the chairman will have authority for the commission to make a decision. If you'd like to reword it that way.
That's fine. Like I said, I have no problem with the office being over there, and I have no problem, but
Reword it that way, but.
I just want some type of wording so that we eliminate this 5 years down the road.
Right, so if you feel that if you add that wording, then that will eliminate it, then that would be, you just add it to the.
So, again, that's all.
And move on from this one, because
Well, no, I would love to move on to it, and that's why I said I thought that with the proposal that I submitted, I thought that I covered everything as fairly as possible, because I took what they said here and I left it in there, and I just added a couple, 5 words or whatever, saying, just so that there's a little bit of clarity there, so that if we get a chairman that
Yes, no,
goes off on a little bit of a power
totally
trip,
understand.
bang, he says, oh, we get to rein him in a little bit.
But if you want to move on from this one item, you could say, and I'm sure the selectmen will agree, I can't speak for the selectmen, but to move on from this one issue is that any major issues, the commission would have to vote, and then emergencies, the chairman would have the authority to speak for the commission. Is that?
Like I said,
One voice, that's it.
I don't have a problem with the chairman speaking for the commission based upon a majority vote, based upon that he has consulted with the other commissions, and the other commissioners had said, yes, we agree with that, go ahead and do it. That's all that I'm trying to say, is that.
And I think we're all
that we
agreed
don't.
that would be okay, but what I'm speaking of is in an emergency situation where I'm not going to sit down and talk to each individual because of the conditions that we're under, that I could get a hold of the commissioner. If I don't, I'll call Eric or I'll call Bob, just to notify the commission and let them talk to me, and so I can either notify them or give me direction,
You have
without a meeting.
You have on-site
Okay.
contractors for emergency now?
Can I,
Yeah, but
this is a separate.
This is a
thing.
separate.
I just have
I'm just looking at...
one more question.
I don't know
for
what's
this
going to happen, Ed. It's just-
Yeah, exactly. Do we have anything that we know of, or wording, that what constitutes an emergency?
Public health risk
A public health risk?
I
would be one.
Would be, yeah. No, thank you. I mean, it's good input. It's a,
I mean, there's all types
Emergency
of
repair.
emergency. This could be a financial emergency, there could be, road emergencies, everything dealing with, main breaks, whatnot, I consider that emergency. Station shutting down, that's an emergency. I mean, there are emergency situations at different levels. And in those situations, we would try to get a hold of the commission. I mean, we're going to do what we have to do to repair or rectify the situation, but we'll also make an attempt to notify the commission if we need guidance, that we're going to call you and ask for guidance. Now, you won't be able to make a decision because you can't meet, and if I have to get something done, or we have to get something done in a timely fashion, then we're going to have to do it. But we want to notify you and get your opinion or guidance from you, and you might not be able to vote on it, is what I'm coming down to. And that's why, if you just, keep it the way you do and just add in emergency situations, the chairman or whomever will have the voice of the commission.
Can I just say something here? If you understand, the whole emergency thing is because you guys otherwise would have to meet, okay? So I think you kind of have to take your guidance from the open meeting law, which allows you to actually meet. Again, you get your opinion from town council on that, but my understanding is allows you to, there's an exception to the open meeting law, the posting of emergencies, okay? But then you have to have minutes that reflect it and so forth and so on. So basically, I think you're going to have to take your guidance from that situation where if Randy calls someone and calls Ed and says, we have this issue, and then, if the question is whether it has to be done on the spot, or does Ed have an opportunity to call Mr. Higgins and you, Eric, you know what I'm saying, to say, look, we need to have a quick meeting here, can you guys do you have time to run down to the, and I understand it's kind of a flexible concept, but I mean, I think you have to take your guidance from the open meeting law, because that's what the issue is here. The issue is you guys have to meet, but when you meet, you have to comply with the open meeting law. You see what I'm saying? So I think you should take your guidance from what constitutes an emergency under the open meeting law in terms of what constitutes an emergency in dealing with this, because if practically speaking, you can't meet, you know what I'm saying? And that's why, you guys should, I assume you all carry cell phones or whatever, and the thing is, because, again, if you have to meet in an emergency, if you have to run down to a place, do you know what I mean, and at a coffee shop, whatever, okay, or run up to town hall, whatever it is you guys have to do in an emergency, and if you can't do it, if Ed's unable to reach either of you guys, if you don't get back to him in 5 minutes or whatever it is, I mean, unless Randy has to act within 5 minutes, do you know what I'm saying? That's like an emergency. That's practically speaking an emergency. There's no way you guys are going to be able to meet.
Right.
So you kind of take some guidance from that. Like, so if Randy says, I would think if Randy says, well, I got to do something in the next 2 hours. Okay, I got to make a decision in the next 2 hours. Well, that kind of gives you an opportunity to at least attempt to meet. Okay, and if you can't, then you back and say, well, we can't have a meeting, so. Then
the chairman speaks, and he says, you're going to have to go ahead, and I'll talk to him.
I think the guidance might be that there's no opportunity to, a practical opportunity to conduct a meeting despite the best efforts of the chair. And I know that's kind of a, wishy-washy term, but that would, I would think,
let me have one word,
require the
okay?
chair to reach out to you guys to try to say, you got to get back to me in 15 minutes or whatever, we got to have a meeting in the next hour or whatever it is. And again, it's a pain for you guys, I understand that, because you're gonna, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning. And basically, if Ed can't reach you, if there's no call back, and Rick says, I need to do something in the next 15 minutes, that's one thing. If I need to do something by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, okay, and Ed tries to call you guys, and whatever, you guys are not responsive, then I think Ed basically says, well, I attempted to contact these guys, I haven't heard back from them, we cannot hold a meeting, even an emergency, okay, and therefore, I'm telling you X, Y, and Z, and then I think basically what Ed would do is, on the record at the next meeting that you have, for the record, explain what occurred, so that you have some sort of record of it, okay, which I think goes to Eric's concern about having a chair just kind of going off the reservation and doing stuff, and there never really, never being any record of what occurred. But I think there has to be that attempt to conduct some kind of meeting under the emergency clause of the open meeting law.
Ed, all right, I just want to make a quick statement, and then I'm going to, in my opinion, I spent almost 30 years taking care of emergencies. The last call I would want to make would be to one of my superiors, because they've already delegated me with the authority to take care of it. That's my position. You have so many other things that you have to do besides start making a lot of phone calls for approvals and this and that and the next thing. The most important thing is to start taking care of the emergency, get your crews together, get your dig safe, get your traffic control out there, marshal up your equipment. Depending on the severity of the emergency, you may have to get extra crews. The first order of business is to secure the site, get the crews, get the materials, get the repair made. Then if people need to be called, all well and good. But in my opinion, I think we should just, if you declare an emergency, take care of it and then go about other business. And that's the way it should be handled. That's the way it's always been handled.
Private sector. This is the public sector. That's one of the problems.
Emergency is an emergency, Tom. It doesn't matter what sector it's in.
It doesn't matter if you have to comply with the law, okay? And if you're in the private sector versus the public sector, the things in the public sector is one of the biggest frustrations people have working in the public sector, because there's laws that they have to comply with that you don't in the private sector. Private sector, you can, it's a free-for-all. You pretty much do what you want to do, okay? Unfortunately, you still have to comply with the law in the public sector. And again, and if it's an impediment on things, it is what it is. You just don't get that free hand that you have in the private sector. But what I'm saying is that, again, you guys can vote. You guys can vote that if some emergency arises between 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, okay, that Randy doesn't have to call you, that he's authorized to go forward and do something, okay? In other words, you can set parameters on what constitutes an emergency, okay? So, but if the emergency arises, you could say between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. at night, and Randy has, or the person taking place, has to try to contact the chair and try to get some sort of resolution. That's all I'm saying. You want to. I think I hear what Eric is saying, okay? But I think what you need to do is define what you guys think is an emergency, and one of the easiest way to do it is you can say things occurring between this time and this time. We're going to say that those are emergencies, okay? He doesn't have to. But if it occurs between 8 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night, then we don't consider those presumptively an emergency, and he has to make an effort to contact the chair. And then the chair would try to contact you guys to hold an emergency meeting. It's really simple as that. Again, the problem is you're in the public sector. You have to comply with the open meeting law. You have enabling legislation, which is giving you guys exclusive authority. So you got to be very careful about where you go with these agreements, as much economic sense it makes. At the end of the day, you have to comply with the law. That's all I'm saying.
Tom, when you have an emergency, it doesn't declare itself whether it's a private utility or a municipal utility. The interest is the same. Now, my point is very simple. We're serving the same people, whether we're private or public. We have an obligation to
Good, I'm in a meeting.
take care of the public, okay, the public interest in the town's property. And as a former risk manager, it's my opinion The way to handle it is the way that I explained to you, and then let the chips fall where they may afterwards. It's very important to take care of the infrastructure and not start the debate, well, should we call this one, should we call that one? You have to take care of business first, Tom, then you can debate about it all you want.
Legally, you can't.
I'm
do it
done.
illegally.
I'm done with
We-
that, okay?
You're not-
Okay.
All right,
I gotta go on from the other way back.
all right.
We have made a commitment to let everyone know that under any emergency, and we feel it's an emergency, we contact the commission.
We also have we also have an on-call emergency company, right? D'Alessandro or whatever?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that we're moving in the right direction, because D'Alessandro's fairly new, year or two old or whatever, I'm not even sure if he's that old. We're definitely moving in the right direction. My opinion is a little bit of clarity on these things. I mean, I don't think that we have to rewrite this thing. I certainly don't feel that my proposal has rewritten those things. It just tried to clarify a little bit of this. One of the big things I think that is going to probably be a sticking point is what constitutes an emergency. And maybe we need legal counsel, whether it's Susan Murphy or whoever else does that. We talk to them, what constitutes an emergency. I have a knowledge of the system, and, you know, when we talk about an emergency, you say something along the lines of like, hey, we had an emergency, the station went down. How did the station go down? What happened to the station? Because the station, as far as I know, it's been a little while since I've been into every single one of them, but they all have backup generators. So if the power went out, the station went down, the backup generator would come on and run it. If the generator didn't run it and the station went and didn't come on, that could be an emergency. You had to call in Spirito or Margaret's or whatever to come and pump the station until we got the generator running, until the electricity came back on. You know, if a pump went down, there's redundancy in the station. All the stations, as far as I know, have at least 2 pumps in there. So some of these things aren't quite a 2-hour or a 4-hour or an 8-hour emergency where, like you said, and you say, hey, the pump went down, we got to go get a new pump. As you're doing that, and as you've mobilized your crew and got them taking apart the pump because it definitely needs to be replaced, there can be a phone call made to Eddie that could say, and I know, I'm not saying that you don't do that. I'm not saying, I'm just saying for a little bit of a clarification on a wording of a contract. What constitutes an emergency, I think, would be a huge help in getting this contract squared away so that you don't have to go through this year, next year, 3 years from now, or ever again.
I agree with that.
So, do you want to make a motion to consult with council
Yeah.
on this consolidation?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we can consult with council.
For review of the consolidation
For-
agreement. Review of the consolidation,
Forgot my glasses, sorry.
for review of the consolidation agreement.
Make a motion to consult with council for review of the consolidation agreement.
Second the motion.
Yeah,
Can I just recommend that you extend the contract, the existing contract as it's
Sure.
up today?
Yep. You know, with the selectmen, and I mean, I think if we can extend this existing one and continue working in good faith the way we are, we should consult with council on what they consider emergency, or what clarification on, you know, who speaks for who or whatever.
You want to do that within a time frame period? Within a week?
Again, you have to talk to council and see what their availability is.
Yeah. Well, let's say within a week, we'd like to speak.
I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but do you want to petition the selectmen to go to your separate council? Because I think that's the proper method of going about it. I'm just putting it out there.
It's, you know what, I'm going to leave that up to you two. If you want to petition the selectmen and
I do not. I think this agreement here is
you want to
just
talk
very
to
basic.
Susan
Eric.
Murphy, is it? Is that the town
Whoever.
council?
Oh, we,
You know, I mean, Ed, I know you have some
there are a lot of things.
discrepancies with that
a lot of
you
things
want
gotta
to
be
get
discussed,
clarified, so I would leave that question up to you two. I kind of have my own little issue going on here with that particular thing, so if you guys want to
You're making that motion, I would second it then.
make a motion, then you can consult with council,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I just, what, is it, and I apologize, I was out of the room for a little bit. Is this only on the issue of what constitutes an emergency?
No, consolidation agreement.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, because if it was.
There's a motion made.
emergency, You could simply ask council to define emergency, because
Right.
they're the ones, give you a
Well,
definition. and-
We made a motion to consult with council
Okay.
because Eddie had a couple other questions that if we're hung up on this one, by the time we get through all of them, we'll be here till
But
midnight.
I understand, I'm just saying, it's just a
So,
simple, if it's a definitional issue, it's a simple.
I don't know if you want to consult with Susan? Is that her name, Susan Murphy?
Susan Murphy.
I don't know if you want to consult with her, or if you want to petition the selectmen and get your own. It's up to you, Ed, and, like I said, I've kind of did my thing, and we're still somewhat in the midst of that.
We'll petition the selectmen on it.
You want to petition the selectmen? Okay.
Would she get it within a week's time? We'd like,
Like I said, that I think would have to be, you want to petition the selectmen within a week's time?
to get counsel
Yeah.
within a week's time,
Okay. So you want to get separate counsel?
yeah.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
That takes care of that, so, quarterly billing.
So, can't move on here, I don't think. Are we extending, has agreement been extended?
Oh,
Another
yeah,
30
we
days,
should make a
because
motion to extend
you
the
should probably
existing
vote on that.
agreement. I'll make a motion to extend the existing agreement for 30 days.
Okay, second the motion. All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So we're still operating under the existing one. Okay. Next,
Quarterly billing discussion. There seems to be a difference of opinion on here. The present time, Treasurer's Office is able to absorb the cost of labor for semi-annual billing, collections and reconciliations. If the Sewer Commission decides to go quarterly billing, there'll be a cost associated with that decision. I think that that's something that we should look into for people who are on limited retirement, to have it on a quarterly. If you get a bill for $800, $200 instead of the $400, which is a lot better for their budget. Do you have any comments on that?
There, if you don't mind, there will be costs associated with this.
Right.
You do have Jean Montgomery's memo, which
do. Yeah.
gives an overview of her costs. And then I put a memo together recommending against quarterly billing because of the costs and the costs going to the ratepayer. In this, I broke out the costs, basically, the treasurer's estimate additional annual cost for collection activities. They would have to add labor at approximately $12,000, and they would need a lockbox service at approximately $5,859 for a total of $17,859. Now, what we spend today is $0 for the service they provide for the treasurer's office. As far as the Sewer Commission's estimate additional costs, there would have to be a modification of the present software that we use, and this is a rough estimate of $1,000 plus. There would be a doubling of the mailing costs, which would go up to $4,233. That would be an additional cost. Right now, we do pay that, so it would go actually up to $8,000, $8,466. And then, in order to do the billing, we would need an additional person at 3 days a week, which would approximately be a $22,000 additional cost to the commissioners. So the grand total with all the estimated costs additional would be $45,092, which would go to the ratepayers. And the actual cost today, when we do billing twice a year, is actually $4,233. So that is the reason that I would recommend against it, but it's totally the commission's decision.
You have any comment?
The sewer bill is based on your water usage,
Right.
which gets sent out quarterly. Is there any way of contacting Aquarian Water and to see how they?
We have their records. We have their-
I was saying kind of like to, for lack of a better term, pick their brain and like, why do you bill quarterly and how do you do it and what are your operating expenses or what are your costs to do it quarterly as opposed
That's
to?
their policy and procedure for billing, okay, is to bill quarterly.
Right.
Like, there are other communities who bill quarterly for other things, and they bill semi-annually. There are some utilities, many utilities bill monthly, like your gas bill, your phone bill, and all that stuff. They bill you monthly. If they're unable to obtain a meter reading in the month in which they're going to bill you, they might send you an estimated bill, but when they read it the next month, it's self-correcting with whatever that is. I think the cost to go after this is pretty high for, what do we got, 2,500 customers or so?
Well, like I said, I mean, if it's going to cost us $45,000
Yeah,
to do it, I would probably
We
say
have
no.
2,851 users. It's a few more than when Kate Lothrop did the billing.
Yeah.
So, well,
We do offer, or I should say the Treasurer's Office offers payment schedules for anyone that is needed.
That's
And-
right. That's correct.
And this is actually ongoing right now.
Yeah.
So
Can we notify the users that that is available? They could do it on a quarterly if they,
Most certainly. We can notify them of
like I said,
that.
I mean.
I think basically-
I wasn't saying, I was just kind of saying, if we called up Aquarian Water and saying, how do you do your billing? I mean, they may say, hey, well, we do it like this and it works out that way. I mean, I'm not saying that we have to do what they do, or we can do whatever we want. We don't have to go to quarterly billing.
Well, they're,
Like I said, if it's gonna cost $45,000, I would say no, but if, I mean, you're sending it out with the tax bill that goes out quarterly, is there any type of cost savings there? Is there any way of doing this that might be a cost savings that might be beneficial to the ratepayers? Maybe the ratepayers don't want it, maybe they're like, no, we're happy with it that way, or?
well, I looked at 10 communities and they do quarterly billing. So, I mean, the people that I've talked to said, you know, their budget is pretty stringent, and by the quarterly billing, it cuts it down as far as the ability to pay.
Well, it seems like Randy has done his homework with coming up with a cost. I mean, is there something that you,
Yeah, I think if he can put a notice in with the billing, you know, that is available to all users, you
But
know.
what if 50% or so of those users elect that quarterly billing payment schedule? How do we pay for that? You know what I'm saying?
I will have to talk to the Treasurer's Office because they're the ones who handle it at no charge to the commission at this point.
Right.
And I don't know if we offer it to everybody, if it's going to be a burden upon them, which they may have to start charging the commission.
Yep.
I can talk to Jean Montgomery and ask her and report to the commission the answer. But that's a suggestion I can make before I
Yes, I
actually
mean,
put something in the
I
bill.
understand what you're saying, if everybody goes, oh crap, yeah, we want that, and then it's gonna cost us $45,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but there are provisions for those with hardships, okay? And you just don't walk into the treasurer's office, say, look, I have a hardship. You have to be able to prove to some degree that it is a hardship for you. And they're very nice down there, they're very understanding, and they're excellent down there to speak with, trust me. And I think that's the intent of that. You know, we have a majority of the population in Hingham is quickly becoming senior citizens, and...
Over
and it's
40%.
Over 40%. So that target group, some of which may have fixed incomes that continue to erode because of the cost of this, and this, they want to pay their bills. Trust me, they want to
absolutely.
pay their bills. They're the best payers, those guys, those
So
old guys.
we'll
But-
table it and let Randy
Okay.
discuss it with the treasurer. The next one is Weir River wet well procurement. Is that you, Steve? or-
That's me, yeah. As part of the capital expenditures, we are going to modify the Weir River wet well. The pumps and the rails and the interface are all worn, and there's a lot of blow-by, and we're down to, on a good day, 133, 140 gallons per minute. We should be up around 315. So I procured bids to replace the railings, put new pumps in there, and I want to upgrade those pumps from solid handling pumps to vortex pumps, which can pass a 4-inch solid item right through there. This would eliminate the basket, all the rags in the basket. We wouldn't have clogs anymore, which we've got weekly clogs in that station. So Williamson Electric got the bid. You know, we had, Randy, I think we set aside $40,000 for this.
We put it out to bid?
capital. I did, I procured it. Williamson came in at 23,091.88. So that's
23 what?
091.88. And so that's nearly, just a little over half of what we expected. Now, we're gonna have to bypass pump on top of that, but that's not gonna add up to too much. So I'd like you to either be able to sign this contract for Williamson Electric or vote.
What are the other bids?
The other bids were, Weston and Sampson came in at 21.5, which is a little less, but it was for the same solid handling pumps. I'm sorry, Steve.
You would have all.
I had spoke to John Ellis about the vortex pump, and
Yeah.
he couldn't produce that. So the next was Web Pump, and they said that the railings and everything will be on their scope of work. And then I went to Enterprise Equipment, and Enterprise Equipment came in at $33,453. So I procured 4 different bids. So I'd like you to accept this bid of $23,091.88 and vote that Randy could sign this contract with them.
Can I see that?
Sure. It's got the scope of work right on it.
These are submersible pumps, obviously.
Yeah.
We can talk about the rails.
Yep.
This would greatly increase the efficiency of the station,
And I'd also like
reduce
to add,
electrical bills.
I'd also like to add that under the IMA, Cohasset's going to pay for 66% of this. So that's going to reduce our costs even more.
Is that, now that metered, well, they metered there, right, with Cohasset?
Yes.
So that'll tell us what the I&I is coming from them, right?
Yeah. Well, not so much the I&I, but it tells us what they're sending us.
Well, it's flow, you know?
Well,
Well,
But if
yeah.
you said blow-by is one of the things, so when the two pumps hit together,
When the
when that
pump
pump
and the
turns on,
interface,
it's blowing,
it
like,
does
it's not making a,
this.
it's
Yeah.
not making a tight seal. So it's not so much that we're having an I&I or we're pumping or leaking, it's just, that pump has to pump twice as much because it's leaking half of it.
times as much, yeah.
3 times as much, okay.
So we'll be saving in electrical costs.
Right. No, I'm all for that.
You know, under the IMA, Cohasset reimburses us
we have
about
to sign that?
66%.
yeah, you have
We
to
have to,
sign.
you want us to sign this?
You
have
can
to-
sign it,
You
that's
guys
fine.
can sign it, or?
You have to sign it in.
Zach, go ahead.
Well, you have to sign it, you're the chairman.
Okay.
And I have an email conversation in with Cohasset regarding just that.
Okay,
Okay.
good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the other, the next one is, providing commission with monthly budget variance report from July 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2014.
And they provided that information to us. Ed,
Yeah. Any discussion on that?
no, look like we're in pretty good
Eric?
shape there, Andy.
What is,
Good job. It's not easy.
so we're on provide commission. So they provided, that's this Munis report here?
Yes.
Commission request information.
This Munis report will actually take care of most of those items,
Yeah.
remaining items.
So should we discuss, so we should discuss this Munis report now, and that will take care of 14, 12, 13, 14, 15, basically, right?
Eric, Ed, before we go into this, can I just, I'd like to just say, recently I had the opportunity to visit with Steve Dempsey, the pumping stations, some of which are really in great shape. They've done a terrific job maintaining those buildings. And the one down at the west corner there, they just finished rehabbing some of that and painting. Looks terrific, Steve. I mean, the guys did a good job. Had an opportunity to meet with the guys, a couple of the technicians down there that work for the sewer department, you know? And I know they're gonna go forward with this other project, but I wanted to say thank you. And those guys did a nice job. And thank you for the tour of the other stations,
You're welcome.
okay? I really appreciate that. And I hope going forward that the relationship between the commission and the department continues to improve, and I know it will. Okay, thank you so much. Okay.
Do you have
Okay.
notes? Did you want to?
I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to a funeral. You wanna take over the other?
Let's just go over this quick, and then we'll, because we're gonna, once we go over this, Ed, then the rest of this is all gonna be
Right.
covered, so we're gonna cover it all right now.
Provide commission with monthly budget variance report from July 1st to September 30th, 2014.
In this printout, you can see the variances of each account on the far right. So if you have any particular, there's expenses, we also, there's capital outlay and variances, encumbrances and variances, or where we are with encumbrances. And I have to verify that, because accounting, verify that with accounting. And then the next sheet is the accounting for the I&I account, which gives you the expenses for I&I, which is also on this list, number 14. And that gives you the fees coming in and the money going out.
On the page 3, overtime, budget, $22,143, year-to-date, $3,491.97, monthly, $1,345.33. Who got the overtime? Is there a breakdown on that?
We do have a breakdown. It's not on this particular sheet, but the overtime is for, well, Steve could explain it better, but for Ship and Cottage, actually, we put all that overtime into Ship and Cottage. Station checks, breakdowns, or alarms, basically, and any overtime for maintenance of the station. Steve?
Yeah, we've had a couple of different items, squirrels tripping the legs in the power. Power goes out, we get a call from the alarm company, so we got to send one of the guys down. I think Jim F. Tosmas has gotten 3 or 4 calls to date. Larry's gotten 1 or 2, and Dave Beaucair's gotten 1 or 2. I've taken myself out of the emergency rotation to let the guys catch up a little bit. I could, obviously, if you want to come down to the office, I've got a spreadsheet on it. I can break it right down to nuts and bolts of all of it.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Do that this
So
afternoon?
we're within budget as far as the yearly goes, so.
Okay. The other one is the other equipment on page 3.
Are you going to go down to Steve's office this afternoon?
I'll be down this afternoon.
What is your question on other equipment?
The figure there, year-to-date expended, $9,672.94.
Yes?
It's got all these different vendors here, but, you know, what is the 609, what is the amount for GH Ritterhouse? What is, you know, it doesn't say. 1,310 EL Markets, 1,750 Equa Water.
These are ongoing costs to maintain the stations. These are to maintenance costs, and it's other equipment, meaning that it's not vehicles. And a lot of the costs that are miscellaneous, I'll say, for lack of a better term, go under this as far as going into the different stations. We are within budget. As you can see, we're only expended 22%, so we're right around.
Station, so it's mainly station maintenance, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
this is tracked. I can tell you if we're over or under at any point in time. I keep a pretty tight handle on that, and if we're over budget or under budget, I know that either everything is going great, or if we're under budget, that everything's going awry and we need to spend some time in those areas.
Okay.
But these are actual costs to keep the system up and running.
All right. Then a page.
a couple
Go ahead.
of the big tickets, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. You have Lipsitz and Son. Who are they?
They're a oil company that replaced the oil tank.
Yeah, they replaced the oil tank that had sediment in it at South Street Station, the inside tank, the fuel pump, and all the lines that were corroded.
Is that for the generator?
Generator.
Yes,
Oh,
it's for the generator, and that was something that was outlined in the R&M by, what's the generator company? Power Products comes in, and they outlined that, and we pushed it off for a year, but it got to a point that,
Yeah, well, you're gonna,
You don't wanna
you're gonna
put-
suck that settlement up and then clog the
You're gonna be in trouble.
generator, and you're gonna be in
So-
trouble, so.
To be honest with you, they have a list of items that need to be done, and they're not all in the budget, so we will be trying to accomplish these tasks as we go, and if we have the money. So you might see a big ticket item here or there, and that's usually what it's gonna
Yeah.
be, because it's an identified problem and we need to take care of it, so we'll go out and take care of it. And
Ordinary
try to
maintenance.
stay within budget.
Ordinary maintenance.
Who is Evolute Water?
that's the bioxide, I believe. That used to be Siemens.
Station
Corp.
treatment, in other words,
The
Mill Street.
bioxide at Mill Street.
Mill Street?
Yeah.
Oh, for Mill Street Station?
Mill Street.
They
Okay.
changed names.
Yeah.
Protect the innocent. Odor.
And then
Page 5, you get something else?
Holdley and Son, do they come to the stations and check the backflow preventers, or is this?
That's
Aquarium.
Whitewater. Comes in and does that.
Whitewater does it for Aquarian.
Okay, so
They come
what is Holdley,
biannually.
what is Holdley doing for us?
That's just an expense for an item that I don't know what the,
I'm trying to think. I'd have to check.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're not gonna name it right off the top of your head, I'm just kinda curious if they were doing those things, or if you had some problem that you had to take care of as opposed, I guess my question was that like an annual expense, like how they come in and check the backflow meter every year?
Probably
No, it was
not.
just something.
this
Okay.
is, didn't we get some stoppers for the main to do that?
What's the number, Eric? How much money?
470?
Did you buy a couple of those
Well,
expandable balls
there's a
to put
couple
in the
different ones
pipes
on there,
so that
that's
we
why I was
could-
kinda curious,
Yeah.
but like I said, I mean, you have a main break, you gotta go up there and get a plug, or
I
you
think
need a
T&E
valve for a
makes those.
station,
Test
you know.
ball.
Yeah, test
Yeah,
plugs.
test
That's right,
ball,
test
or a
plugs.
valve, like I said, a valve for a
That's
station,
what
okay.
those expenses
Yeah.
are.
All right,
Good enough.
we go to page 5. Legal services. I didn't think we had a budget.
We have we don't have a budget, but I had to get a legal line because we have legal bills coming in under the sewer commission. I had to put it somewhere. What number is that? Legal
it's
services. So I
3,000?
I do have, okay, this is the 15 budget, so there is $3,000 in there that the commission wanted me to put in. I did put those in, and we paid out $5,000 so far, $52.47. We're actually over budget in legal by $2,247. Well, we're 174%, 175% of the budget. And those are the extraordinary legal fees that the commission has had us take care of.
Any in particular, or what?
I can't, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I can get those bills and let you know, but that's...
The only thing was, I think we spoke before, we didn't have a budget for 2014, I think it was 2015.
We're in FY15.
Yeah,
We're in fiscal year 15 right now. That's the budget we're working
okay,
off of.
all right.
Well, my question is the legal bill that I obtained was told, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, you can't pay it, and now you're paying $5,000, $5,200, and you're $2,200 over, and yet you don't pay that bill. I guess I'll see an issue with that.
I'll say this one more time, is that I can't put that bill forth. I cannot do that, okay? The expenses were put into, were obtained in last year's budget, and I did not encumber that money because I did not know it. So I can't legally pay that bill. If there's other avenues, and...
Can I ask a question while we're all here for some clarification on some of these issues going on? It would seem to me, and it's purely me, who was basically just a ditch digger, 12th grade education, but it would seem to me if a bill came in and you got it, and you said, geez, I don't know what this is, or I'm not sure how to pay this, wouldn't you bring it to us? We would look at it, take a vote on it, or whatever, and then if we were wrong, in the wrong doing that, we would have a discussion with either the town manager or the selectmen as a board, saying, well, we voted on that, and well, you weren't supposed to do that. Why did you stop it at your level?
I brought it to my boss's attention, and I checked with accounting, and they told me that it could not be paid and not pay it. That's all I can tell you.
Okay,
So if you want to go above me, then that's my answer.
I appreciate your answer. I appreciate your position. Again, I guess I will go a little further up the food chain with that question or whatnot, but it just seems to me that if you are working with us or whatever, then it would come to us, and then we would, at that level, take it there. I mean, you said that you brought it to your bosses.
I believe...
Kind of feel, hold on a minute.
Sure.
I kind of feel, and again, I could be wrong, I apologize if I am, but I kind of feel that we are like the first line of bosses, so that you would come to us and you would say, hey, I got this bill, I'm not sure where it is, I want to present it to you guys decide what you want to do with it, and then, like I said, we would be responsible to whoever if we did something wrong.
Well, to answer that question, I believe that the town administrator is the next in line from the commission, so the commission are the bosses, town administrator, and then myself, and the chain of command, so on down the line. And you'd have to talk to the town administrator as far as that goes, but I think it's in the agreement, if I remember correctly, and I just did what I normally would do. I talked to accounting, and I talked to my boss, and they told me not to pay it. And that's how it was handled, as far as I'm concerned. And that's how it was handled, so.
Okay. Well, wait a second, I'm not,
The
I'm
other
just
thing
kind
that-
of curious as to the pecking order of the food chain. So,
Page-
one quick
ahead.
last little thing is that, as it stands right now, as this consolidation agreement reads, you don't answer to us, you answer to Ted, or the town, I'm sorry, town administrator.
On certain subjects, I do. Yes, I do.
Not on all, on certain, just for clarity, on certain subjects, okay? Thank you.
Procedurally, I usually go to Ted. I don't usually go to the commission if I have questions like that. If it's a policy question, I'd definitely come to the commission.
Well, I mean, again, we're talking about emergencies, and the chairman speaks for that, and you would call us if we had emergency and stuff like that, and then this bill comes up, and we don't contact the commission, we contact the town administrator, and he says, no, don't bother paying that because he didn't do what's right. It's an issue for the town administrator and the commission and the selectmen and whatnot. Okay.
Next one is page 8, Article 38, Ship and Cottage, $49,346.30. To date expended. What was that bill for, you remember?
That was encumbered?
Yeah,
What page is that, Eddie?
Well, the article was...
8, page 8.
What year was it? 08? When should that? What is your question now?
What was the bill for?
CRL contract.
Contractor?
Why did we carry that over? Why did we encumber that? Do we not pay them in full?
No, the article was passed, I forget the year, but the article passed by town meeting, and then we had to go through all the permitting and procurement stages. So because we go into new budgets and the money was appropriated, we encumber it from year to year. So it's there to expend. That's why it was encumbered.
So this has just been carried on from year
It's
to
been
year?
carried
took more
on
than a
since
year.
town meeting.
Yeah, okay.
It took more than a year from beginning to end, so.
All right, anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Yeah, the only other thing is that there was a, the reporting schedule, sewer department, major projects, we'd like to be submitted by a supervisor commencing on August 4, 2014, as outlined in communication inter-office memo, August 4th, 2014, by myself, Chairman. Yeah, I sent you that inter-office, Randy.
Yes.
I sent it to...
You sent it to Steve,
Yeah.
and bypassed me.
Okay.
I then responded to you, and we do, and it was agreed upon at a commissioners' meeting, I think it was the beginning of July, if my memory serves me correct, that all of the supervisors' reports would be left in the office for, we have a book here with all the supervisors' reports, and they're available to commission at any time for their review. We could email those out if you want to give us your email addresses. But this is what was agreed upon, and this is what we've done.
Yeah, but I can speak for the commission if I want to change the procedure on what I sent to you, Steve. That's what I'd like to have coming, because what it'll do, putting all major projects, to allow the commission ability to review for future authorization, allocating money out of the sewer funds. So give us a heads up, in other words, that's what I'd like to know.
We always give you heads up at the meetings.
Yeah, but
Prior to any-
I'd like to
any-
have it beforehand, you know? If you have projects coming up, you know?
We try to notify you, like, as soon as we are notified, as Steve did today about the pumps at Ware River Station, and also the budgetary capital budget, you're notified
There's a
earlier.
case in fact right there now, he could have sent that to us and we could have looked at it, you know, and reviewed it. Then we wouldn't have to necessarily bring it up at the meeting.
Well, I think you have to bring it up at the meeting, but I'm not positive
Yeah.
of that.
Well, if he had the bids out now.
I just need to know the mechanism on what you need, how I'm going to do this, because I do the report.
I
I'm happy
understand.
to tell you guys whatever you want to know. I just need to know. I don't have all the time to run to each one of you guys. I'm as you probably
It's
know,
not, no.
really busy.
All you have to do is make out what I asked you in that inter-office memo. It's
Which is done in this supervisor's report. How would
not
you-
the way I want it, not the
how
way,
would- how would you like it-
not the way I put it in there. I specifically.
Could you
have
give
a
us,
copy.
could you write us an example of what you would like? Because I'll
I
check.
gave it to him.
I don't remember seeing an example of a report. I know that it was written directives, but if we can change this supervisor's weekly report to reflect what you actually want.
Okay, I'll give him another copy of it. All right?
I mean, if you could give us an example of a report, then we can absolutely do that.
You want to look at what projects are coming up for the next week?
Yeah, monthly and then weekly, you know, so that we're on top of things. Because we're liable to the,
As it
Ratepayer.
is here, it's accomplished last week, and then there's objectives and projections for next week, and then there's long-term goals and projects. And those are filled out every week. And then I give an actual day-by-day breakdown of what happened during the week. I mean,
that's not what I want. I want major projects. I don't care about your day-to-day. You have a regular procedure for that anyway.
There are major projects in here.
Yeah.
This is, that's,
I'll give him a
Yeah.
copy of the letter that I requested.
Can you make,
those are the reports.
Steve, when you write this report up and you put it into this book, could you make an extra copy and leave it up? And do you have a mailbox or somewhere he can come and pick that up at the DPW?
There's a mailbox down hall,
We can put it in the sewer commissioner's, the sewer
Thing,
commission's
you know what I mean?
box.
And then.
Absolutely,
Then
we can do
it'd be
that.
on him to come down and pick it up. I mean, it just have it, I mean, you write it out anyways, so you just make an extra copy of it? Is
yeah,
that?
I've done that.
I mean, that's why we
can-
have that book.
I realize that, and like I said, he doesn't have time to do it for each one of us. I mean, Steve has emailed me things before, and I prefer to do that because I don't want to come to the DPW every day and pick this up, or every week, so if Steve has an issue or whatever, he can email
We
me,
will
but
put copies in the commission's mail
in the
for Ed to
chairman's,
pick up.
yeah, in the thing
That's
for him to
perfectly
pick up.
fine.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Good
I'll
for me.
accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting?
All those in favor? Aye.